several times over the past couple of weeks when I've talked to my mom, she has said, "Don't let me forget, I have a small Christmas gift for you." And so finally, when I was up there on Thursday in Pennsylvania, she gave it to me, and it turns out that it was this. This is not the ideal room for show and tell, I realize, but it is a tiny Christmas tree made of gold-colored wire in some sort of plastic dome cover. And it's very cute, and she said, "Well, you can decorate it." Because it literally is just the frame of a Christmas tree. Very modern, very sort of stark. But you could do anything you wanted to with it. I mean, you could put little ornaments on the branches. They're now making these incredibly tiny LED lights in strings that Kana likes very much when she decorates the parish hall. You could have one of those on this. So it could be temporary, you could change it, it could even be permanent. I could take this off and paint the tree in whatever color I wanted, whatever design I wanted. There's much to say for it, but as it is, it's just a frame. It's just the outline of what a Christmas tree would look like. There's potential there, but it hasn't really become yet what it could be. I see that as being kind of where we are on Christmas Day. Today we have begun to receive what it is that God gives us. We have received God with us, Emmanuel. That's great. That's a nice outline, and all sorts of things can be hung on that. But now becomes the time when we have to think about what sort of ornaments we're going to put on it. What are we going to make of it? What will it be for us tomorrow and the next day and every day? I'm thinking that there are some things we might want to make of Emmanuel, of God with us in the new year. I wonder, maybe there's one in your mind that you've already thought of. Maybe it hadn't even occurred to you yet. I mean, if you're peace-minded, maybe peace is the decoration that needs to be hung on the frame of God with us in the new year. For some reason, by divine providence, I guess, yesterday I saw somewhere on the internet a statistic, a factoid, talking about the relationship between the degree of regulation of gun laws in a state and the number of gun deaths in a state. And it turns out that the fewer regulations there are, the freer you can be with carrying weapons, the higher the rate of gun deaths is in a state. This, to me, is something we probably ought to be talking about, we who are supposed to be people of peace. What it means that people feel that they have to go around armed. What sort of safety is there in living that way? Maybe our ornament of peace this year is to speak up, to speak for peace, to speak forcibly to society about the fact that, in fact, we should not view one another as threatening in that way. And if we do, that says something about us. Maybe the ornament that you feel needs to go on the tree, on the frame this year, is justice. I talked with someone this week about the equitable housing ordinance resolution that has been under discussion in the city of Newark. You may know that in general, college towns become very difficult, very expensive places to live. In a way, that's no one's fault. In a way, it's everyone's fault, just by the way housing is organized. But to live in a place that is pleasant and is generally safe, but is so unaffordable that many of our neighbors are forced to leave simply to find some place they can afford, is something we should be talking about. These discussions are ongoing among our neighbors. We are a neighbor in this community. Maybe our ornament is to speak up, to attend meetings. These are our local people. It's not like we have to go to Washington. Just go to Elkton Road to the City Hall when there's a hearing held and talk about what we think ought to be the affordability of living in the town where we are and that we like very much. Maybe the ornament that needs to be on the tree this year is mercy. You may know that within the past couple of weeks, the Newark Empowerment Center had to close. I mean, there were understandable and perhaps even reasonable reasons why that happened, but nonetheless, it has removed an important resource for homeless people, for those who are impoverished in our community, to find what they need to improve their lives. Just on Sunday, when we had closed up everything after the live nativity and the cookies and hot chocolate, I was the last one leaving the building that day, and someone came and knocked on the door with a homeless man. They were trying to find some place he could go for the night. You recall how cold it was on Sunday. And I had to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. The nearest thing I can think of is in Wilmington. That probably is not the sort of just and merciful community we would prefer to be living in. Maybe that is the ornament we need to be hanging on the tree this year. Maybe there's another one. Maybe in new life. Maybe there's something growing in you, growing in us, that will make itself apparent in the new year, that will be the ornament that we hang on the frame of God with us in 2025. Perhaps in the mind and the heart of God, something new is coming to us, if only we will notice it. Because that, dear friends, is the kicker in this story. I thought the other day, I probably should take the cover off to see if I can figure out what I'm going to do with my little tree. And it was only then I discovered that the dome had been glued on. So I can't take it off. I can't decorate the tree. How often is that what we make of God with us? It's a museum. It's something that we keep under glass where it's so perfect that we never make anything of it. I will not say this out loud because my mother is probably watching over the internet this morning, but I ought to take a sledgehammer and break the cover off. That, dear friends, is what you and I should do if we are ever tempted to put Jesus under glass. Now is the time to take the cover off, to begin to hang things on the frame, to find what it will mean to have God with us once again every day, once again through all of our lives. Merry Christmas to you all. Amen.